Can this team, just for once, please be normal? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Oh, look! I can catch. Why can't our receivers? Grossi. And today we are going to be talking about the Green Bay mother-loving Packers win over the New York Giants with a score of 27. 27? All hail 27! To 20. And this game was frustrating for a litany of reasons. Not only did the Packers have numerous injuries, they had so many dropped passes. We had dropped interceptions. The defense at time had no pass rush, but thankfully they were able to escape this with a win. And talking about those injuries, mostly everyone came back except Josh Jacobs, who had a knee injury. Thankfully, it doesn't look to be season ending. However, there are going to be more tests done on his knee on Monday, so we should be getting an update within the next day or so. So hopefully nothing serious for Josh Jacobs. And before we get into this game, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to you all. Because of you, we just hit 929,000 subscribers. A huge shout out and thank you to you for supporting this channel. We are now 71,000 subscribers away from 1 million. It's a free show. There are never any sponsors on any videos. And so if you'd like to help out the channel, it's free to subscribe, and I appreciate the hell out of you. And just going through some of those injuries of guys who got banged up today, you had Matthew Golden, Jordan Love, who went into the locker room after taking a helmet to his left shoulder. However, they don't think that is going to be serious at all, and he did wind up coming in on the next drive. Zach Tom got banged up and came back. Romeo Doubs got banged up and came back. You had Mosby on the defense get banged up. And yeah, I know it's the MetLife turf curse, but thankfully, the Packers were able to get away with a win and most of their team intact. And the reason why this game was so frustrating is, unfortunately, it's just self-induced problems once again for the Packers. They just continuously shoot themselves in the foot. While the play calling definitely wasn't too bad today, though there were a couple times where they decided to go deep on like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, which was a little head-scratching. The problems really came from the receivers because Jordan Love, even though his stats don't really reflect it, actually had a really nice game. You had a ton of drop passes today. Luke Musgrave was dropping passes. Romeo Doubs dropped a couple of passes, and they just couldn't get anything going. However, after all that, Jordan Love went 13 for 24, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was sacked 2 times. One of the issues we've been talking about over the past few weeks is that offensive line, and unfortunately, that reared its ugly head once again. And while the Giants do have some good pass rushers, it was very frustrating to see at times the fact that the offensive line could not block and could not pass protect for Jordan Love. Though I do have to say, one of the big improvements is the red zone offense from this game. The Packers were perfect in the red zone. They went 4 for 4, and that made a massive difference in this game. On the Packers' final offensive series, Jordan Love led his team down the field and threw an absolute dart to Christian Watson in the corner of the end zone in double coverage, and Watson came down with a spectacular grab. And by the way, he was our leading receiver today. And by the way, he had 2 touchdowns today. Christian Watson was a game changer on the field. Romeo Doubs led the team with 4 receptions for 53 yards. But Malik Willis, who came in for that one series, he was perfect. Went 2 for 2 for 6 whole yards and threw a touchdown to Christian Watson, and it was a really nice throw. And I know that this is something that we've been bringing up over the past few times that Malik Willis has actually got playing time. It just feels like the playbook opens up, especially in the ground game, because you have to respect Malik Willis's mobility, and he was able to navigate that offensive line and scramble for a few yards, and of course lead them to a touchdown. So a huge shout out to Malik Willis, because it's fantastic to actually have a backup quarterback that can come in and lead a scoring drive. Josh Jacobs had 7 carries for 40 yards before being injured and did not return to this game. Emmanuel Wilson, though, he was able to fill in 11 carries for 40 yards and had a touchdown on the day. Wilson has been playing pretty darn well this season. I know we're still all waiting for Marshawn Lloyd to come back from his injury, though I don't know if we are ever going to see him again, considering the last time that Matt LaFleur was asked about him, he said we're not going to see him anytime soon. And so taking a look at the offense, besides the blocking issues, again, it was the drops. And it just felt like every single time the Packers Packers were starting to get some momentum, there would be some negative play or some incompletion that would completely take away any positivity that happened in that drive. And you also saw this in the stats as the Giants basically outgained the Packers in every metric. They had 336 yards compared to the Packers' 296 yards. They had 22 first downs to the Packers' 19 first downs. So the fact that the Packers were able to still get this win and had all those mistakes, hey, it's a gritty win. Am I happy that it came against a team that had a backup quarterback, backup running back, and a backup wide receiver one? No, but listen, considering how the NFL is going this year, I'm just going to take the freaking win. Taking a look at the defense, they definitely struggled at times. The Giants were able to get 142 rushing yards. Tyrone Tracy, 19 carries for 88 yards. Singletary also had 2 rushing touchdowns against the Packers. Jameis Winston also had a rushing touchdown and an interception. He went 19 for 29 and 201 yards. Now, talking about the frustration when it came to the defense. The Packers, they only sacked Jameis Winston 2 times, and that last sack was on the final play of the game coming from Micah Parsons, who also forced a fumble, which was very nice to see. He had a sack and a half on the defense. McDuffie also had half a sack, and it's just frustrating because now this is 3 weeks in a row. The Packers were only able to get after Bryce Young 1 time, in which you had Xavier McKinney making a sack, and then last week they put up a goose egg, and that pass rush really wasn't getting after Jalen Hurts, and considering how not so great the Giants' offensive line is this year, it's a bit frustrating to see guys like Rashawn Gary not stepping up and being able to get after the quarterback. Lucas Van Ness missed yet another game, and we haven't seen him for nearly half the season. So hopefully when he comes back, maybe that productivity will finally get a little bit better, but definitely frustrating to see. The other frustrating thing is, besides the wide receivers dropping all the balls, the Packers had like 4 opportunities to intercept Jameis Winston today. Valentine, who's been great so far this season, he had 2 dropped interceptions. Bullard had a dropped interception. Nixon had a dropped interception. Finally, Evan Williams was able to get that game-sealing interception, but good God was it frustrating because Jameis Winston was just giving gifts to the Packers. And again, the Packers were just like, no, thank you. You can continue to move down the field. Then, taking a look at special teams. Oh, God. McManus did not play today because guess what? He's still not healthy. And these past few weeks, we just as a fan base have been complaining over and over again. Let us see the substitute teacher. Bring in Havrasik, who was hitting 63-yarders during pregame today. And unfortunately, that did not translate well to this game. The first time the Packers got a touchdown, it was Malik Willis shanked the extra point far to the right. And then once again later in that game, missed another extra point, though the snap wasn't great. And on top of that, the laces were also in, and so I'm not going to completely blame that on Havrasik, but I am going to blame that on the special teams because that has not been consistent all season. On top of that, it was very windy today at MetLife, and so while I want to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because you did have a Giants kicker also miss their extra point, it is just frustrating, especially when it seems like none of our kickers can get into a rhythm. However, the one person who could do no wrong, Daniel Whelan, our punter, had a 60-yard punt. You can never do anything to upset me. I love you forever. Keep on doing what you're doing. And so overall, it was a very ugly game for the Packers, but I did like some things that I saw. We talked about the play calling, and that definitely looked like it improved today. Jordan Love, even though his receivers dropped a bunch of balls, he was able to lead that team down and score the game-winning touchdown, and it was a beautiful ball to Christian Watson. If you did not watch the game live, I highly recommend at least checking out that highlight. It was a really good throw and catch. And so while this wasn't a perfect game, the fact that they were able to get a gritty win against a team that they should be beating, yes, I will give you that, I'm just happy they were able to escape with a W and end their losing streak. And so now, what does this mean for the Packers? Well, they're currently sitting in 3rd place in the NFC North still. Yes, that's right. If you're watching this before the Lions game tonight, the Bears are currently in 1st place in the NFC North. Nope, that is not an error. They are in 1st place. It truly is the apocalypse. If the Lions wind up beating the Eagles tonight, they will regain 1st place in the NFC North. And as we were talking about last week, the time for games are pretty much over, even though there are going to be more football games. There are 7 regular season games left for the Packers this season, and 5 of them are against division rivals. And the next 3 are all against NFC North opponents. The Packers are going to have the Vikings next Sunday for the first time this season. Then a short week on Thanksgiving, they're going to Detroit to take on the Lions, and then they will be taking on the Bears for the first time this season. And so all of these games that have mattered up to this point, it's really just going to come down to these last 7 games where the vast vast majority are against divisional opponents. And if the Packers win a good chunk of those games, they have a really good shot at making the postseason and potentially winning the division. If they don't, yeah, things are going to get problematic real quick. But as of right now, the Packers got a win today, and I will take any win that we could possibly get in this season's NFL. Let's just hope that they show up and look a little bit better against the purple incarnation of Satan next Sunday, because they have to go against not just J.J. McCarthy, but also his alter ego, 9. Though I hope he throws a lot of interceptions like he did against the Bears today. But let me know what you think. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com, and a big shout and thank you to all the Patreon and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.